So welcome, Cynthia. It's good to have you on. Obviously, I know you anyway from TPM,
Yes.
but it's good to have you on. Got some questions to find out a little bit more about you, your processes, and your likes and dislikes. So without further ado, we'll kick off with question one.
Okay.
So the first question is, you've been snapping virtual photography since the end of 2018 and have
Yes.
been part of a few community pages and groups on Twitter and Facebook, but we'll get to those. But how did your VP journey start?
Well, it started with Horizon Zero Dawn. I think a lot of VPs started there. And I hadn't had a gaming console in probably 10 years at that point. I grew up with them, way back in the day, but adult life took over and I just didn't have one for years and years. So finally, I bought my son a PlayStation, a PS4 for Christmas. And then I'm like, what kind of games are out now? So I just did some research and I got Zero Dawn for like $10 on a Black Friday sale right before Christmas. And I was like, I'll try this one, Robot Dinosaurs, right? So I'm playing the
Yeah,
game and I'm talking to my sister who has always been a really big gamer. She's like, "Oh, I've heard of that game." So she comes over and she's like, "Oh, look, it has photo mode." And I'm like, "What is photo mode?" And she's like, "Oh, you could take pictures in the game." Like, I'd never heard of this, hadn't been in the gaming for a while. So she kind of zoomed around in the camera and we set up a few pictures and took them. I'm like, this is pretty cool. But at that time, this was like, right before Christmas because I took it out of the box early when my son wasn't around. Don't tell him.
yeah,
I couldn't help it. I wanted to try it out. And I played around with it for a little bit. So, I say I started about that time, but it wasn't until about a month later on Facebook I really was liking the game, so I joined a really big Horizon Zero Dawn community on Facebook.
yeah,
And I'm interacting in there and I'm like, this is cool. And then I start seeing other people posting really good pictures from the game, like really intentional shots that were like intriguing and drew you to them. And then I
yeah.
saw that they would do photo competitions weekly. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. So I started, joining in on the competitions and like I would place like third and second. And I'm like, I'm doing pretty good here. This is awesome. Not really heard of it before, but some of the people from that group are people like I still know today,
Yeah.
and like Nick. I actually had run into him in that group first, and he was one of the ones I was like, his pictures are so good. Like I looked up to him, I'm like, I want to be like these guys, and there were a few other people as well.
Yeah.
So that's really how it started, and then it just kind of took off from there with offshoot groups on Facebook for VP specifically, and then I migrated over to Twitter a few months later, and like here I am.
The rest is history. So did your son ever get to play on the PS4 or did you just hijack it all the time?
Oh no, he played. He played. He still
Oh,
does. He's been playing Spider-Man 2, like right now. He's ahead of me in the game. So,
oh, he's enjoying it, is he?
oh my gosh, yes. How could you
Oh,
not?
yeah. It is really good, really good.
It's so
I'm
fun.
avoiding spoilers at all costs.
Yes.
Although I did get myself in trouble the other day because I decided I wanted to post pictures without any text because it looked really nice and clean. And
Hmm.
Shinobi had put mutes on Spider-Man and all the different word things. He's like, "But you use no text, so it didn't work." Oh dear,
Sneaky, sneaky.
sneaky, sneaky. So we got a question from Bianca. So
Yeah.
part of Bianca's question was about your VP journey, but so we just talked about that. But the second part was, do you feel like you can't do gaming without VP now?
Oh, this question. Yes. Kind of, yeah. I think because I'm really caught up in VP. And in my mind, like I've associated it with games hard. Like I wasn't a gamer for many, 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 many years first and then started VP.
Mm,
So the first thing I look at when a game is coming out is like, is it going to have a photo mode? And like sometimes they get them afterwards, so that's not a thing. But I've been known to play games that I maybe wouldn't have otherwise, or at least try them because of photo mode and I like the aesthetic.
yeah,
And then I find out that like I love them, so it it works out in the end. But yeah, I think for me, it's really like playing games is tied up with virtual photography, so. Um, I
It's
wouldn't
re-
say I would never pick up a game without it because I do take photos in lots of games, or not lots of them, but several games without photo mode, and I just make do. But yeah,
yeah,
it's part of my gaming.
it's difficult, isn't it? It's the first thing you look for when a new game comes out. Has it got a photo mode? And when it hasn't, it's like, oh, I've
No.
got to go back to old school VP.
And
Oh,
then the second question is it a good photo mode?
yes, that's a good point. It's a good point. The
Mhm.
Spider-Man's 2's photo mode's good. I
Oh,
like that.
spoiled. Spoiled.
Really good. And I love the character tab where you can make with all the poses and expressions. Love it.
Oh yeah. They're fun. The expressions, a little over
Mm.
the top for me, but yeah,
I have to say, any photo mode that has expressions, they are all over the top. I mean, God of
they
War,
are.
you know, some of the faces in God of War are like hilarious. But
Kratos expressing extreme joy was just very jarring to me.
the stuff of nightmares, that is. Stuff of nightmares. Anyway, so next one. So as I mentioned before, you've been part of the VP community for a while now, whether that's on Facebook, in groups, Photo Mode Vol, or on Twitter/X, and you joined the Photo Mode team back in October 22. So
hmm
what draws you to community groups, and what do you think these pages or groups/accounts do for the VP community?
Well, I mean, they do a lot. I'll start with what draws me to them. When I started, on Twitter, especially, like the groups that existed at the time, there was Gamergram, Society of Virtual Photographers, BGP Network, Capture Collective, um, like all those guys were there, right when I started. I think BGP Network came around the time I started. But for me, they were really important. Um, to like how I progressed, especially for the first couple of years, because I would use their tags all the time. And a lot of them were running like weekly or monthly themes, and still a lot of them do. And for me, those themes helped me think outside the box of what I was taking pictures of. And I'm like, oh, here's an idea to take a picture from a different perspective, like I wouldn't have thought of on my own. And so for me, I felt like they really helped me grow, and they connected me with a lot of other VPs in the beginning when I didn't really know anybody and I was starting out. And, I wanted to see other people's works. I wanted to see how different it was from how I saw the games and captured them, just for inspiration and then getting to know people. So
Yeah,
I feel like in that respect, for me, that's what draws me to them now because, and they still help. I still love participating. In challenges and themes when they do them and everything. I just don't do it as much anymore.
yeah.
Um, but because it helped me out so much when I started, now like I'm drawn to like giving some of that back, I guess. That's why I like what we do at TPM and what like some of the other pages are doing as well.
It's true.
Um,
It's such an important factor when you're fresh to it on a fresh platform and you
yeah.
don't, you know, everything about VP, you don't know lots of people or what to do. It's really
hmm
important the kind of the platform that those community pages give you, isn't it? And at the early part of your VP journey, that's so important to get people engaged in your work, see your work, get involved with the community. And I think it's a natural progression as they say 3, 5 years into your VP journey, it's a natural progression to maybe not participate as much. And like you said, to
Yeah.
then switch to how can I give it back because of what it done for me at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. That's exactly the same reason for me as well. So I think it is, I think for anybody who takes part in community pages, I think that's the main driver, isn't it? It's giving back what was given to them at the beginning.
Exactly. Great minds
Um,
here.
So, where are we? So, you've been a busy bee in your time in the VP community, winning the fourth Focus's God of War Father's Day contest in 2019, first place, first place in the Edge of Reality category in 2021's Red Bull Capture Point contest, along with
hmm
numerous features by PlayStation, including Share of the Year 2020, two shots featured in PlayStation Magazine in 2021. So, given all these achievements, so there's quite a lot of achievements there. What would you say is your highlight of your VP journey so far?
Like one highlight?
Well, you can pick more than one. You can pick as many as you like.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go. I think my biggest one I would say is, I know it might sound a little cheesy, but the friends I made along the way.
That's not cheesy at all.
Um, I've met a lot of really great people. Some of them have become really, really close to me in various ways. Obviously, I met Nick, who's my partner, through VP. But I've made really close friends like Bianca, Evie. I'm not going to start naming like a ton of names because I'm going to forget somebody and I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But I've made some really close friendships, people who mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
And honestly, at the end of the day, for me personally, that's like the best thing to come of this. Because we all need good support and good friends, right?
definitely, definitely.
But if we're focusing VP wise, like the actual like art of VP, some of
Yeah.
my high points were getting follows from like Insomniac and Gorilla. Obviously winning the competitions were fantastic high points for me. Um, but having interaction with developers like means a lot to me, and I get that often enough to where like it just helps me feel satisfied in what I'm doing. And through VP, it's opened me up to other forms of art, such as like learning Photoshop and photo manipulation and using VP as kind of a base to create other works of art. At least I'm trying to.
You,
So,
you can't
really,
you
my
can't
journey
say
has a
you
lot of,
you can't say you're trying to. I think everybody on here has probably seen the Photoshop piece you've done of Star Wars. Um,
yeah.
that's not trying to. That's absolutely smashing it.
Oh, thank you.
You need to give yourself credit on your
I
Photoshop
consider,
skills.
I consider myself like, I'm an amateur. I'm not a professional. I have a long way to go still. So I do appreciate the kind words. I need to actually work on it more and be a little more prolific with it than I have
Mm,
been to really
yeah,
start, improving things that I need to work on.
yeah.
But
But we'll get to that on a question in a minute. We'll talk about that a
yeah,
little bit more. Um,
okay,
so this isn't the first time you've been interviewed. Obviously, it's the best interview you're going to do, but it's
it
not
is.
the first time you've been interviewed. You've previously been featured in the Photomode. You've appeared in the Fourth Focus's VP Archives and been
Mhm.
interviewed by the big man himself, Ruben, on OSnap. What
Yes.
is it? What is it that draws you to share and talk about your VP experiences in these forums? Obviously, we've talked about why you want to be involved with the community pages and bits and pieces, but what you always come across as so passionate when you do talk about VP. So, what draws you to share about your journey and your experiences?
Well, I can't say no, first of all. Uh, but besides that, like I'm always interested in meeting other people who are in this same community more than just the interactions we get on places like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever we're posting. So like when Ruben, when I was going to do his interview, I was like, this is a like a really good chance to actually speak with him live and, get a little more sense of who he is since, he's a major part of the community. So I really like that aspect of it, but also like, I don't, I don't see myself as a person that has like, all the answers or that is, the best of the best with all the answers for everybody out there. But I'm like, maybe if I can inspire someone else, something in my story can inspire either other people starting out or somebody more advanced along their journey for whatever they need inspiration for. Like, I'm happy to do it, even if I am nervous.
Hey, you're not coming across as nervous at all.
Excellent.
So Virtual Glamour has asked, what visual inspirations from other media do you get inspiration from?
Um, yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I actually, I'm trying to think of a great example, and of course, my mind went blank. But I think a lot of us will use the obvious ones, movies, for instance.
Yeah,
I really like, let's say you really like action movies. and you like to do action shots, you can take a lot of inspiration from like camera angles and poses and things like that to incorporate into your work. I have find myself when I'm watching shows or movies really interested in like the color grading and the color tones in
Yeah.
that have been chosen because color is such an important part of any type of visual art. You get the colors wrong and your image doesn't come across as like how you intended. And
Yeah.
I'm no expert in this by any means. I'm still learning. But I find that I like to really look at how a scene is color graded, like what the characters are, like what have been chosen for them to wear in it, and how it impacts with their environments and the other characters and um, all of that. So I find color to be a really interesting thing, in my opinion, to look for when I'm watching other media.
I need to pay a lot more attention when I'm watching films. I definitely do. But
I
it's
mean,
true
you'll,
though. I
you'll,
think, sorry,
sorry.
carry on. No, you go.
I'm like, you'll approach it from whatever angle that interests you, I think. And like your work. Also, lighting is super important. I'm always looking at that now.
Yeah.
I felt that's very important to mention. Lighting is will make or break any of your images. So, and that's like a lifelong journey learning about lighting. So, I'm no expert.
No, but there is so much to learn. And I know we've talked with other people before about photography and skills learning of photography, and it kind of ties into the next question that we've talked on Ask the VP about further learning, such as photography skills and light skills. And your VP and your Photoshop masterpiece is ooze experience and skill. So
Thank you.
they do. So have you had any training in the visual arts, or does your experience come from, like you're saying, inspiration from movies or self-learning, that kind of thing?
Um, Mostly self-learning. I don't have it. I'm sorry, my child was trying to talk to me too at the same time, so I might have
That's
missed
all
some of
right.
that
You
question.
can join in.
Landon, say hi. Hi.
Hey,
He
dude.
just really wants to be a part of everything. So,
Bless him.
um, but if you're asking like if I have any training, is that where we're at right now?
Yeah. So I was basically saying that, some with your work in your Photoshop, have you had any training in visual arts and those kind of things, or is it all from self-learning and experience?
Okay, I gotcha. I have no formal training in visual arts. Um, Other than in high school, I took two drawing classes. I have lots of experience in like classical music. I was a classical pianist in my earlier years, and I've fallen out of it, so it take a while to recover that skill. But I don't have visual arts training. Um, So, what I've done is I started just by experimenting, of course, and looking at what other VPs are doing and seeing what I liked about their work.
Yeah.
The first 2 years were probably like that. So, I'm like, oh, this VP over here, I'm drawn to this photo, and I would try to really identify why I was. Do I like the composition? Do I like the color? Do I like the emotions it's portraying? And try to incorporate things like that into what I was doing. But like, any of us, our early stuff was pretty rough. And a few years ago, I started like just, learning on YouTube, learning about lighting. I would research photography, watch lots of just landscape photographers, portrait photographers, just working and talking about what they're doing. I'm not a photographer in real life. I understand the very, 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 very basics of it, but I can't go take a really amazing, you know,
Yeah. Sure.
landscape or portrait. Like I'm not like that, but it's helped me understand at least some of the concepts of, composition, lighting, color. Like right now I'm really kind of in a big kick of I want to incorporate a lot more storytelling in my photos. I've been feeling like I've been capturing the same old kind of shots for a long time now. I'm kind of in a rut.
Yeah.
And they're not to me, they're not speaking. Like they may look like visually like aligned right and colors are fine, but they're not really portraying like anything besides that. So I like to be able to be more free with what I'm doing.
So do you
Um,
you predominantly post single shots, don't you?
I do.
So have you thought about posting sets and telling a story through the set?
Mm, I used to post sets, and then I'm not taking enough pictures right now to post as sets, really. Um, I, 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 I mean, that's a great advice. It's something I can definitely go into consciously to attempt to maybe improve a little bit by maybe doing like a whole set of something that tells a story.
I don't know whether it'd be easier if you're trying to really get into telling a story of the picture, whether it might be easier to start with a set and tell the story with, three, four pictures, and then learn from that to try and condense it into one picture. I mean, I'm literally just speaking off the cuff. I've got no idea whether that would work or not.
Hey, I'm always open to suggestions, so I do appreciate that. Yeah, I'm always
Yeah,
open to suggestions.
but I mean, the good thing from what you were saying there is, and I know many people have talked about it before, is we all kind of fall into VP,
Mhm.
and then find our love for it. But there's so much to learn that we don't learn. And like you were saying there, you've gone onto YouTube, you've looked at lighting, you've looked at various things. And I think, if people are looking to improve their VP or improve their skill, that's a really good place to start. The amount of stuff you can find on YouTube, um, you don't have to pay for classes and bits and pieces. You can find so much information. But it's very clear to see from some of your shots that you have done that. And I think
Thank
that's
you.
what I think that's what I was trying to say in the question by saying it oozes experience. Your the Photoshop things I've seen from you and your VP, it it appears like not it appears like you know what you're doing. That's not what I mean. But from a photography point of view, it appears that you know those skills or you have looked at those skills and it comes across in your work.
Well, I appreciate that because I've put hundreds of hours into learning,
I should have
and
I
I'm
should have said
glad
it
it's
made no
coming across.
difference, shouldn't I? Oh,
There's
no,
other resources out there too, though, than just YouTube. So, I mean, I have paid for classes on like Skillshare, Udemy, in various like aspects of this. So
yeah.
there's those resources as well. There's blogs, there's all kinds of things. So if anybody out there wants to learn more, there's lots of different ways to learn.
Exactly, and we mentioned before, and I think we've talked about it before about asking people. You were saying you looked at VP shots, you like their composition, you like their colours. Is speaking to the VPs as well. And I know we've spoke about this many times on these interviews. Is if you do get inspiration from people like that, it's just to speak to them, ask them. We're people will be more than happy to impart their knowledge and advice.
That's one thing that I like don't do very much of, and it's my own personal like failings here. Like I have a tendency to not want to bother people, and I know that's the wrong attitude. It's, something I'm working on overcoming in like my personal life and everything, but not wanting to bother somebody. And when in reality you're not bothering them, like 99% of the people like you ask are going to be very receptive to having that conversation. So it's like my own personal thing. So I'm trying to work at that better because like who better to go to learn than the person who took the image.
Yeah, I kind of I get you though. It's hard though because let's say Shinobi's on here. You,
Hmm.
Shinobi literally takes some amazing shots, and you can probably see if you're somebody starting out in VP and you're seeing Shinobi's work and you really like his work, you could probably see how it is a little bit what's the word? I can't think of the word now. It's completely gone. You're a bit apprehensive about reaching out because you look at people's followers, you look at their work, and
Hmm.
like you could feel like, oh, should I really ask? Will they really be bothered? But yeah, speaking for instance with Shinobi, I think I've asked him about bits and pieces before. I just think so. It may be on a personal level, or it may be that you think you can't ask. But if I think people are there to ask if you want to, and they will be receptive if you do reach out.
Oh, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. And you're like the opposite of me in that because you will ask
I'll talk
anybody
to any,
anything,
I'll
just
talk
about.
to anyone.
You will. And actually, I admire that. And it's one thing, like working at TPM with you, that I've noticed. I'm like, I need to be more like that because a
You
lot of
you don't
people are
need
out
to be
there
more like that.
networking. And, well,
You
but
don't.
everybody's out there networking and making more connections and stuff. And I'm like, I want to do that too, but I need to stop being a little bit shy about it. So,
You
like,
do
we all
you,
inspire each other in different ways.
yeah. But it's like honestly, you do you. I mean, I for some reason I just like talking to people.
No, that's good.
Uh,
That's why you're our interviewer.
thank you, thank you. The amount of people I've probably annoyed message them saying, "Look, I've got this idea. What do you think?"
Nah.
But yeah. So where are we? Let's talk. So we've got a question from Evie. So
Easy.
question from Evie. What would you say you find more fulfilling creatively, VP in itself or your incredible Photoshop works?
I dreaded this question. Sorry, girl. Um, I have a great love for VP. I do. I also have found a great love in taking it farther and using VP to create edits, learn a lot more skills that I didn't have when I first started. And lately, I've been finding the process of editing and just playing around with images that I take more fun than
Yeah,
taking them in the game itself, which I actually have been, especially since she asked this question and I saw it on the page. I was like, I need to get back to that first love of VP as well. Not that I dislike it at all, but I need to find that again, because I do feel stagnant, and I think maybe that's part of it. I'm
yeah,
like, it's like I can't wait to get out of photo mode so I can get into like Lightroom or something to play around with it and just see what I can do. And so I'm actually going to try to back off that for a little bit and just rediscover like what it was that I loved about just getting in the game and just getting those images perfectly. And I might find, what I've been missing lately.
yeah.
So
It's
it
a very
actually kind of helps open my eyes to that. So thanks, girl. Love you.
it's a very common thing though, isn't it? Of people getting kind of stagnant or interrupt the VP. If it's such an
Yeah.
important part of your life, and whether that's on socials or not, or whether it's just taking the pictures, it's very easy to get in that position of, oh, I'm taking the same old shot or I'm not feeling this. And it's a very, very common thing. I mean, I don't know why it is so common. I think, if you do something so much, sometimes it could not so much boredom, but I think, like you said, is trying to go back to finding that love of why
Well,
you love it.
it's just part of being a creative. I mean,
Yeah.
I I don't think anybody out here in this community or any other creative community has had a time where they haven't suffered from like a creativity block, unless you're brand new and like you still got that initial love going on. But it's very normal, and it used to distress me back because go through periods of time like this. This isn't the first time this has happened. It used to really distress me. I'm like, oh, I've lost my VP skills. Like, I don't know what's wrong, but now I recognize it, so I'm okay like backing off for a while. Um,
Yeah.
Even if it hurts my personal account growth, but that's a different story.
But do you
That's a
find you
whole
back
another
off?
beast.
Yeah. Do you find you back off completely? Do you stop doing VP to give yourself a break and
Um,
then try
yeah,
again?
I can. I have done that before. Sometimes it's like my personal life gets overwhelming, as we all do, and I find myself not really having the energy to play anything at all for a few weeks at a time sometimes.
Mm,
But I'm usually off doing one of my other hobbies, you know,
yeah.
during
I'm
that
gonna
time. So
I'm gonna ask you about those later. We'll
I know.
save those. We'll save those. We'll save those. So let's talk about games then, and this kind of ties in from a question we've had from Turid on X as well. So, what are your favorite games to play, and what are your favorite or least favorite games to take VP in?
Okay, I am a big sucker for a game, a story game, like games with really good stories. So I play a lot of PlayStation games. I I generally like love their stories. I love what they do with characters. Um, and for me, a game has to have a good story and good atmosphere for like the type of game that it is. And like that's what really draws me to it. That's what really makes me want to take pictures in it. If like I'm connected to it in a way, if I care about the characters or what's going on or the environments, whatever it is that's attracting me to this game. But if I'm really invested in the story emotionally, like I'm all over the game taking pictures. I find it harder. Like I can go into a game I'm not as connected with and I can take pictures. That's not a problem. But I don't find myself really connected to those shots as much. And I don't pick up those games after I'm done playing with it really to capture stuff from.
Yeah.
Unless I see like some community event going around it, and I'm like, I want to be a part of that. But I really feel like I have to connect with the game. Obviously, it has to look good to me. It does not have to have like top top of the line, like cutting edge graphics. Such as I have a big love for shooting in Bloodborne, and we all know like it looks a little dated. Graphic wise, it's a beautiful game still, atmospheric, and all that. But that's not necessarily my first thing I go for. But
Yeah.
having really good graphics like we're getting lately, it's just been a treat. Like a
It's been
big
a
treat as far as
real
shooting
treat.
goes. Yeah.
And you're quietly hoping for a Bloodborne remake, aren't you?
I mean, it would be fun. It would be nice. I really, I'm actually not one of those. I
Mhm.
think the game is great. I know everybody wants 60 FPS, which, that's the dream. A lot of people want just that. A lot of people want some kind of remake or something. A lot of VPs want a photo mode in it. I found a way to shoot it that I'm happy with, except for I can't do like action type shots
Yeah.
because, you can't pause the game. So, and my caveat here is like I can shoot the game, I can get images from it that are like I consider like really good, but they're not strictly just VP. Like you have to use Photoshop to combine
Yeah.
images to get a full result. So it's not as simple as just going in and taking, like a screenshot and doing some minor edits. So it goes
Yeah.
above and beyond like traditional VP. Um, so I wanted to like clear that up because a lot of people feel like it's not really VP anymore. So, which I can understand.
Yeah. No, I felt like that when I was playing Elden Ring. I wanted a photo mode in Elden Ring so bad. And all the pictures I took, I have to edit afterwards. I have to. I just, when you hide in behind a wall so close to the camera and it distorts all of the angles and bits and pieces.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
why sometimes I am jealous of players on PC who get camera tools in
me
games that
too.
don't have photo mode. But then I'm one of these people who takes a picture very quickly, so I just wouldn't have the patience. I want it, but I'd get bored of it very quickly.
Yeah, Elden Ring, I mean, it's a beautiful game and I never finished it. I didn't connect with it as much. It's still a fantastic game. And I did do some imagery in that game, like the same way I do my Bloodborne shots, but
Mm.
seeing the people with the PC tools coming out, and being able to get the kind of shots that I really wanted to take, I just kind of stopped shooting it because I'm like, and it didn't bother
Yeah,
me to stop or whatever. But I am jealous, PC players. I love you guys though. You guys are fantastic, and you know, just being able to see the same worlds that I love to play in, just from an even awesomer view, is like really amazing.
yeah. And
One
the
day,
DL
one day.
one day, and the DLC for Elden Ring's out next year, so I'm excited for that.
Oh
Eventually,
yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
sure.
February. I think it's February. It's coming out.
I haven't kept up with that news, so that's good to know. But
Mm.
I still haven't finished Elden Ring, so
But while
I don't
we're
know if I
on the
should go play the DLC.
subject of Souls-like games, and
Mhm.
obviously Elden Ring and Bloodborne, Lords of the Fallen. No,
Ah, you're hurting my feelings here.
uh, now I obviously know Shinobi's on it. He'll know what I mean. Is the game? I love the game and the photo mode. Oh, the photo mode's
I know.
amazing. The fact that they put it was it was a surprise that the photo mode was in there, but the fact that it was as good or is as good as it is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm dying all over the place, but at least I can get pictures as I go down.
That
And
I've seen Shinobi's video he made on the photo mode and its options, and I mean, I want a hold of it so bad. It's not in my budget currently, but I
yeah,
will get it at some point. So, yes,
it's it's
I
definitely
want
worth it. And
I covet it.
the studio and the dev are super engaged. You know, people's VP on splash screens and patch updates, and the recent competition they announced where you can get your
Yeah.
VP picture put in Times Square.
I
They,
don't
they,
think you realize how much it hurts me that I can't put some shots into that pool for consideration.
I'm not trying to rub it in or anything. I
I know.
just thought I'd mention it.
It's fine. I mean, that's just life and how it goes. But
You-
yeah, I've been
you-
seeing that and I'm like, they are really, really loving what people are doing. And there's a lot of good VPs out there shooting it beautifully. So, I'm glad to see that the developers are really recognizing that. It's good for us.
Exactly, and it's just really good to see that it wasn't like a half-ass thing. I will put in a really lame photo mode and like just see. You can see that they've really thought about it and really got behind it, which is brilliant.
Yes.
Um, so when you're taking pictures in games, are you a spontaneous snapper or are you a planned snapper?
I'm both. I mean, probably 50-50. I'll go into a game like, I really want to do a dramatic portrait of this character, or I really want to take a shot of this landmark that I saw in passing, or this one area. So I'll go in a lot of times with an idea, but I'm also very opportunistic as well. Like if I'm playing the storyline, I'm always catching things out like the corner of my eye and just pausing like automatically now and just going
Mm,
over to investigate what that was. It's like it tricks something in my brain sometimes. I'm like, that might be good. Like before I can even consciously think about it.
yeah,
So I would say like a mix. Often I have an idea of something I want to capture, but I never end up getting that shot, but I get something else spontaneously. So I don't
yeah.
really,
It always seems to take longer when you plan to take a shot, doesn't it?
it does. It
And
definitely
it
does.
never normally works out for me either. But um, so, talking of photo modes, and I'm going to use Spider Rich from X's version of this question because it sounds a lot better than my question. Um,
Okay.
so he said, "What's the absolute first thing that you more often than not find yourself habitually doing upon opening a PM?" So, what's the part of the PM that you find yourself using the most when you open a PM?
I love this question. Um, in 99% of the cases, it's composition.
Yeah.
Except for like I'll give you an example of one that's not the new Jedi Survivor game. The first thing I do in that particular game is go just get rid of all the blur, the depth of field in it, because my brain does not like moving the camera around with a blurry shot. I can't like concentrate on it.
Yeah.
So in that particular case, it would be turn that off. But in most of the other cases where I don't have that issue, it's composition. I want to set up my shot close to like what I think my final shot's going to be before I really start, you know, working with other options. Like, because how can you, like, let's go back to depth of field. How can you really set that? And then you go to change around your composition, then you're going to have to keep going back to readjust that, like your blur and everything else. So I just always try to set up what I think it's going to look like in the end. And, half the time I end up tweaking that composition, at the end and then having to retweak stuff anyway. But it's just what I automatically go to. As soon as I hit a pause, like I'm already like before the photo mode even opens, I'm already like moving my camera to zoom around where I think I want to go and and how I want to set it up. So
No, I'm with you on that. And it's really interesting when we ask this question to everybody because you'd think that the first answer would be, like you said, composition, set up your shot. I think we've
mhm.
had saturation, we've had contrast,
Wow.
various different things. And it
Oh yeah.
depending on what kind of like VP you are, it's very hard to
Mhm.
understand that thought process, isn't it? I couldn't understand using anything apart from composition either.
Right.
But
It's just
obviously
it's
everybody has
really
different processes.
interesting.
I
It is an
know.
interesting one, just seeing how we all think so differently and like what's like what really stands out to us as important. Not that by not doing composition first doesn't mean you don't think it's important. That's not what I'm getting at, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like what it is that really like you're drawn to. Like, I mean, there are sometimes in a pause where the first thing I have to do is fix like the exposure, because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So it's not like a hard and fast rule, but I
Yeah, 99% of
99%
the
of the
time.
time I'm working on the composition first.
So if and this one comes from Fishman VP. So if you could build the ultimate photo mode tool out of the best elements of the photo modes in games you've played, what parts and from what games are you including? That's a good one. I like that question, Fisherman VP.
Fisherman. I always think of him as Fisherman, even though I know his name. So Fisherman, hey. um, oh goodness, like I mean, can I say everything?
You can say everything. That'd be a bit of a boring answer if I'm honest. So, um,
I know. I know.
I'll tell you. I'll
Um,
start you off. Should we say the lighting from Insomniac's photo mode?
I'll definitely agree with that. I had it
Yeah.
written down exactly like the things. I'm trying to find it because my recall off the top of my head sometimes can be a little sketch. I mean, I would say obviously a true free camera for
Yes.
every photo mode. Please give it to
Yeah.
us. Um, a really good depth of field, and like I said, I'm still learning about all these things, but I mentioned that because I didn't know much about like depth of field and how it works like with cameras when I
Mm,
started, and I'm still like I'm definitely not an expert, and if you try to ask me to explain it, like I'm not going to give you like the greatest answer, but I will bring up briefly that I was listening to Unplugged on
yeah.
YouTube, which is the YouTube videos that Mick and Ruben do, and Mick is like a camera expert,
Yeah.
and I was listening to him talk about depth and like what makes a good one and what makes one not so good, and like he was bringing up things I didn't really know or understand, and it clarified it to me. Like he was talking about the one in Spider-Man, how you have your far distance you can control separately from your near distance, and how
Yeah.
it drove him crazy because that's not how our eyes would work in real life, which is like what you want to imitate.
Mm,
You want your images to, even if they're fantastical images with like magic stuff everywhere and stuff that's not based in our real world, you still want your images to appear like following like the rules of like how our eyes would see it if it was in our real world.
yeah.
Have that base, or else it's just your brain doesn't quite know what to make of it. And so having separate controls for that is not how it works in real life. And it actually made me think. So now, like if I'm using the depth of field in Spider-Man, I'm more conscious about setting like the aperture on both of them at the same, so it's like
Yeah.
the same like blur.
Mm,
So a
yeah.
really good depth of field, and I don't know what the answer is to that because, like I said, I'm not the expert, but I'm sure somebody
Mm,
that's listening can come in and explain like which photo modes have the best one that's the most realistic. But anyway, like I digressed on that. The 3-point
yeah.
lighting system from Insomniac, yes, I love it. It's fantastic. I think it's necessary. Time of day, a lot of people like that. I think it's a really good thing to include, if you want to take a shot at night, if you just want to change the angle of your lighting, like your main lighting,
Yeah.
like that's a really great option to be able to do that. Like the more ways you can control your lighting, I think the more creative you can get with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
definitely.
One thing I would like to see included is not a photo mode option, but it's more for the game itself, but a chapter select option, like once you beat the game, so you can go back and replay
Yes.
chapters, like in The
Yes.
Last of Us.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
really, really a great option for virtual photographers. You know, you only get access to this one character at one point in the game. You really want to take a picture of them for whatever reason, and you have to replay 75% of the game just to get back there. It's like, you're going to be, a lot of us aren't going to do that. I'm not going to do that most of the time. Or a certain scene where you only have access to like that landscape around you or something, whatever it is that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So chapter select would be really, really helpful.
Definitely, because they had that in a Plague Tale Requiem as well, didn't they? And that was really useful.
Yeah, I think they
Really
did
useful.
in Requiem. Last of
Did,
Us as well.
they
With
had
the
it in The Last of
remastered
Us?
one.
See, I played The Last of Us Part One. I played through it all, and it got to because obviously up until you actually play as Ellie in The Last of Us Part One, trying to get pictures of Ellie is just plain annoying, especially
Hmm.
with the orbit cam.
Yeah.
And then you obviously get to play as Ellie, and it's like, yes, I can take pictures of her. And then played the rest of the game. I completely missed that you could go back and do chapter select. I played through the game again.
No.
Oh
Oh man.
no, schoolboy error.
That's really that's frustrating to find out after the fact.
It's really frustrating, and I still didn't get the shot I wanted. Um,
Ugh.
so yeah, no. So we want decent depth of field. We want decent lighting, time of day if possible, and definitely a free cam. Definitely a free cam. I
Oh,
mean, that's all you need,
I've
isn't
got
it?
more on
Really,
my list.
you've got more. Go for it.
I got more on my list. Like,
Go
listen,
go.
I am a lot of people are like, simplify it, don't make it too complicated. I'm over here like, make it complicated, baby, because like it gives me options.
Yeah,
But I mean, one of the things that I've seen recently in a couple of photo modes that have really, really helped is the new precision modes that
yeah.
Insomniac just added one. Gorilla has it. I off the top of my head, I don't know of any others, but I haven't played every game out there. But it's really, really good for fine tuning like your composition. Um, Rather than those big jerky camera movements you can get when trying to like get somebody's, like if you're doing a portrait, somebody's face at just the right angle, and then you think you barely tapped your, right stick, and then it like shoots way past your angle.
Yeah.
That
Bane
precision
of my
mode is
life.
like hella awesome for that.
Definitely, definitely. What's next on the list?
Um, Exposure and like a really good contrast slider.
Yeah.
Um, I would personally like to be able to turn down highlights in a game. Oftentimes they get like just washed out. Or you get those big white patches in the sky if you're just trying to lighten your image up enough to be seen in the foreground. Next thing you know, your sun is like blown out and half the sky is just pure white. Drives me insane. I tend
Has
to
there any,
underexpose a lot of my images for that and just brighten up the shadows and stuff in post because of that. Because I don't just big
so
white
any
blotches everywhere.
have any games actually got a highlight control? I seem to think Cyberpunk might have a highlight control. I could be completely wrong.
I haven't played
But yeah,
Cyberpunk in a
no,
couple of years.
but no, but I get you because I think I'm thinking of Gorilla's photo mode, which is great. But yeah, when you want to get an image which isn't blown out, or you're trying to take a picture in a bright environment, but you want to change it so you can see the character, but then it makes the sky look horrible. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I definitely edit that out.
Or if you have a lot of like effects on your screen, explosions, different special effects from whatever game you're playing, that you can just end up with really big, just white blotches everywhere.
Mm,
So, and sometimes you can recover some of those details after the fact, like in Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever you're using. But I tend to just underexpose it a bit just so I can not just have that big white glaring spot in my face.
yeah,
I'm I'm also sensitive to light, so I can actually be sensitive because of my history of migraines. I can be really sensitive if a photo is just like super, super bright.
yeah,
Not always, but depends on how my brain is feeling at that time. So for me, sometimes I look at a photo I posted the day before, I'm like, that's a little too dark actually, because I was
yeah.
apparently sensitive at the time I was editing. So like I make that mistake all the time.
Oh yeah,
Anyway.
no, it happens, and going from one screen to another screen which has a different brightness, they don't make it easy, do they? Definitely not. Is there
No,
anything else on your list?
I mean, these are just more like wish list stuff, but RGB sliders. Like I was watching Shinobi's video about the Lords of the Fallen game, the photo mode having RGB sliders. I think if I remember, they had white balance sliders too. Those things
Yeah,
are like really, really fun, and they can help change like your atmosphere of what you're trying to do or fine tune it, whatever. But that's more of a wish list thing,
yeah. No, that is really
honestly.
good in that. That's really good in that one because I think you can do it for saturation, you can do it for contrast. I can't remember the other, but yeah, they all have their own slider, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the more
Mm.
things I can do, in the game, you know, the less you have to do out of it
That's the
would
ideal,
be
isn't it?
nice. But it gets some of those things may not be easy to implement. I'm not the expert in like the tech side of everything. So
Mm.
for me, it's like wish list stuff, but it may not even be possible. So
Mm.
I don't judge a photo mode by not including like, you know, RGB sliders or something. So
Yeah.
I do judge it
You,
about the camera though. If it's not if
yes.
the camera is
Yeah.
like orbit
And,
only and like stuck up someone's butt the whole time. Kratos. Um,
oh, and the other one is not orbit cam, but no 90-degree tilt. Who
oh
has
my
a
god.
photo made without 90-degree tilt? Obviously
Uh,
Cyberpunk didn't start off with. Um, Callisto Protocol, that didn't have it either.
I know. I
Oh.
hear that Red Dead 2. Is that true?
Yes, yeah, Red Dead
I
2 hasn't either. That you can only go to, I think, 45. Who
wasn't
goes
one of
to
the.
45 degrees?
I know.
It,
Wasn't it one of the Final Fantasy games that came out too? I've never played a
yeah, I
Final
think
Fantasy
so.
game.
And as someone who takes predominantly portraits or character shots, give me 90 degrees, I didn't even bother.
That's
That's
really got to be frustrating.
really frustrating. Any more on your list, or are we done?
No, we're done. We can move on.
We're done. Let's go to the next one then. So we know you're a Photoshop magician, even though you won't admit it.
I'm not a
So,
musician.
well, I could have said witch, but that sounds a bit harsh. So magician sounded better. Um,
I would be offended. No.
um, so do you edit all of your captures because you've got the skills in Photoshop and Lightroom, or is it just for special projects?
Um, I edit most of them. I don't edit heavily most of them. Um, like if you look at my timeline right now, all the Spider-Man shots that I posted are they're very, very like true to what I captured in the game, just like some minor optimization.
Yeah,
So just rest assured, the majority of what I'm posting on there are not like heavily edited. Like I'm not adding stuff to them or changing colors or doing all that, like just whatever like people would consider like heavy, heavy edits. They're more like, opening up the shadows a bit if I've got detail that's obscured or turning down the highlights if I need to,
yeah,
desaturating a bit or saturating a bit, a little bit of sharpening, for elements that need it. But I'll do if I'm working like in Photoshop on a project, like that's not just a single VP shot. That's a different ball game for me
yeah,
because that I wouldn't pass that off as a VP. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say,
yeah,
"Oh, this is a photo I took in the game." Like that's not how I do.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely, definitely. So a bit of so for your VP, it's more of a light touch edit.
Yeah, I would consider it a light touch.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not out there going crazy with them.
So we briefly spoke earlier about Bloodborne, but you've had some of your shots featured in a Bloodborne guide, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, that's not an official guide.
Doesn't need to be official. So how
Yeah,
did that
so
come about?
I was contacted by he's called Too Old for Gaming on here,
Yeah,
and he does a lot of like print type stuff. He was really heavily focused on games from like the PlayStation Vita, I guess it
mm,
is. I never had one. But he had contacted me saying like he was making just little booklets you could put inside your case that fit your case that are like unofficial guides to the game. And
mm.
his stuff is actually really nice. I mean, I say actually, like I was surprised. I wasn't surprised, but he just kind of contacted me out of the blue, and I was posting a lot from Bloodborne, asking if I wanted to be included. I'm like, hell yeah, I love being included.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, so I sent him a selection of shots, and he picks the ones he likes, and then he sent me a couple copies of it, and it's really nice. I've got it inside my Bloodborne case right now, and I'm like, I pull it out periodically from time to time and look at it, and it was like a nice project that I was a part of. So that's kind of how
That's
that came about.
that's really cool, isn't it? Because you also
hmm
had some shots featured. Was it in Project Gaia, the
Yes.
Horizon handbook?
Well, I was in Project Gaia, but none of us virtual photographers were allowed to have our shots in it. So it's just biographies. Um,
Okay.
that was a decision made by Gorilla since it was a fan project, it wasn't official.
Yeah,
They did not want to have VP appear in it, but it's full of like fan art and cosplay and things like that. But
yeah.
the VPs who were chosen, we got to write, you know, bios and a little bit about our VP and everything and have that included. So yes, I'm
Okay.
in that, but no pictures.
Yeah. Your thoughts and writing are in the book.
Yes,
Hey,
so if
that's
anybody wants to read about me, which everybody's like, no thanks.
The thing is, though,
I can post to my bio.
that's still cool, though. I mean, admittedly, it would
It
be
is.
better if you had your VP shots in there so people could see your shots, but that was quite a big project, wasn't it? A big fan project. So
It was
yeah,
a big fan project.
it's still cool to be in there.
It is.
So
I mean, I'm not knocking it. It was fun to be a part of.
exactly, exactly. So besides VP, what other hobbies or interests do you have? What other things float your boat?
I'm a nerd. Um, I have done a lot of different types of like crafting type hobbies. Like I can knit and crochet and cross stitch. And I kind of dabble in like watercolor painting from time to time. I'm just not consistent about it. So
Um,
I've got nothing like fantastic that I'm like going to be posting or anything.
no,
Um, but like one of my main hobbies that I've always done since, being a child is I absolutely love to read. I am a huge reader. I read a lot of books. I love books. I read tons of fantasy and sci-fi books. I'm just a huge fan of reading.
so
So
what while we're
Like,
on books, let's cut forward to a question I would have asked in a bit, but we're talking about reading now. So what? So you say you read fantasy. I mean, do you have a favorite author or a favorite book?
I have lots of favorites. I can never narrow it down to just one, which is a failing of mine. I read a lot of books
Intrigue.
by I don't know who in my audience like reads in this genre, but I read a lot of books by well, read Tolkien, of course, Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings and Hobbit. I've read those since I was a child, but Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, Dan Simmons, Robin Hobb, Patrick Rothfuss. In fact, I'm gonna throw a manga in there too. Kentaro Miura, Berserk, love it. Um, as far as favorite books, I really like The Name of the Wind. There's a lot of controversy surrounding it, but I find I connected to it a lot. But recently I've been reading a lot of sci-fi and like harder
Yeah.
sci-fi. And I found a really big love for that. And like this year, I've read a book called Hyperion, and well, it's a set of four books, the Hyperion Cantos. Absolutely loved it. Um, Hyperion was fantastic. I also read a trilogy that's kind of referred to as a three-body trilogy. In fact, Netflix is making an adaptation of it. I think supposed to come out in January.
Oh,
Fantastic books, written by a Chinese author and translated. Not easy books to read. Um, has a different cultural focus, of course, which I found very interesting, but it's also what they call extremely hard sci-fi. So it's very,
yeah.
very technical. There's a lot of discussion about different aspects of like physics and, scientific concepts and technology that I don't have a background in, but I had no problem following. I felt like there's enough explanation. Like I didn't need to understand every concept down to its minutia there without
Yeah.
and not it, I understood the basic concepts enough. Like, I mean, they're very, I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm trying not to get on a rant here because
You, you,
I will talk
you
about
go,
books
you
for
go.
hours and hours and hours. So,
The good thing, I
um,
mean, so you read physical books or do you read electronic books?
I prefer physical.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
definitely.
been known to
Definitely.
read an ebook here and there. I read to my child every night, and we usually read on my phone because, it's darker in the room and I don't want to wake
Yeah,
him up with some lights and have him harder to settle. But
yeah,
I prefer physical books.
definitely, definitely. There's something about actually holding the book and turning the pages that I don't know that appeals more to me. And I'm a
Yeah.
crime novel. I love crime novels. I literally love a nice whodunit. Um, but I've not really tried hard sci-fi. I'll have to give it a try.
I mean, I can recommend them to you. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah.
you'll like
So
them too. They're fantastic.
send me some recommendations and I'll have a little dabble.
I shall. I shall.
So tying back to your crafting bits and pieces, like cross stitch, knitting, that kind of thing. You should
hmm
mix your VP with like knitting or cross stitch and get one of your pictures done as a pattern. How cool would that be? You could crop.
Um, That'd be a
Cross
lot of
stitch
work.
one of your VP. You could take
I wouldn't know where to
requests.
be. I wouldn't know where to begin. Like I personally would have a hard time settling on like which shot to do, and it'd probably translate best into like a cross stitch.
Yeah.
But I can guess like just how many hours and hours and hours of work that would be to do it. So
Oh, it'd be horrendous, wouldn't it? Horrendous. My mum used to cross stitch when I was a kid, and
yeah,
she'd literally be there months doing this cross stitch.
yeah,
You'd be like
oh yeah.
s- changing colours every 5 seconds. Yeah, you'd have to
Hmm.
have a lot of dedication, a lot of dedication. But hey, maybe in the future, maybe in the future. Um,
Maybe.
so we've talked books. Let's talk movies. Have you got a top three?
I I just have such a hard time narrowing it down. So I picked three movies that I really love for various reasons.
Yeah, go for
Um,
it.
the Lord of the Rings adaptation, extended editions for life. Um, 12 hours of movie right there.
Love it.
Just because I have such a love for the series. Like my mom read us like The Hobbit when we were children, and I read all those books. I've read the more obscure ones and everything growing up many times. So I'm really invested in Lord of the Rings as a fantastic adaptation. We don't always get fantastic adaptations of books, so
What did you
it's
make of the What did you make of the TV series?
I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I wasn't that interested. And after seeing reviews from people like that I know, like reviewers that I trust and stuff like that,
Mm.
I'm not that interested.
I think it just didn't have, it's from the films. I mean, I personally haven't read the books, which I know is a sacrilege. But
No,
watching the movies, you kind of it's the characters that take you on the journey, isn't it? And I just
it is.
found with the TV series, you're kind of expecting that, not the same characters, but you're expecting that same sort of thing, and it just didn't take, to be honest. But
I mean,
each
I'll
their own.
say, oh yeah, I'll say like in that same universe, the new Hobbit movies, I don't like them.
You know
I love the Lord of the Rings adaptations, but the Hobbit movies, no, I'm
what
not a fan.
what didn't you like about them?
It's so hard to
Be
pinpoint,
brutally
but
honest.
it just felt like another. I don't know. It felt like a money grab to me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
I didn't. I personally didn't think they were done all that well. And I'm a huge reader, and I try not to follow into that, like, oh, well, they changed this and they changed that, like, nitpick everything, because you cannot take something in a written format and translate it, like, with one-to-one accuracy to a visual format. There's no way. Things have to be changed. Characters have to show up at different points in the books, do different things sometimes, and I'm well aware of that, but some of the things they added, I was just like, yeah, I'm not here for that. I,
Let,
I don't
let's
know.
let's let's skate over the Hobbit films then. So Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
That's one of your top.
Hmm.
Any others?
Uh, yeah, I really like Interstellar. I love that movie. I cry every time I watch it.
See, I didn't feel it. I don't know why.
No?
Didn't feel it at all. And I
Interesting.
I love Christopher Nolan.
Hmm.
Inception. Oh, I love Inception. But Interstellar, I just can get it. Can get it.
It was it
I don't know. I don't
like
know
what was it
what I didn't get
about it?
about it. It just didn't grab me. I suppose. I just
Well,
I
that's
don't
okay.
know.
I shall forgive you.
But you obviously love it, and it makes you cry. So again, each their own. What do you find so sad about it?
Well, I found that as a parent, just the thought
Mm,
of having to leave my children on Earth, even if it is ultimately to try to save them from a horrible fate that the Earth is going, I found that sad, especially watching
yeah.
the reactions of his daughter. And then there's the scenes where they get to the planet, the water planet,
Mm,
and because of time dilation, basically every hour they spend down on this planet is, I think it's what, like 7 years on Earth passed. And just
Mm,
like the main character is like almost frantic, just trying to get there and get the stuff they need to do done as quick as
yeah,
possible because he knows like time is passing with his children.
mm,
And, I'm a parent and things like that really hit me hard. And then also seeing like his daughter's reaction, like how angry she was, like for like all her life that he left, even though, as viewers, we understand why he did it and that it wasn't easy. She's just a child and she leaves. Even when she grows up and understands, like, not really having heard from him for years, like, there's just so much anger there. So, like, that
yeah,
emotional part of it really stood out for me. Um, but I connect really, really, really easily to anything storylines with like a parent and child like
yeah.
conflict like that. So like it could be a terrible movie overall, but I'd probably still cry. So
I might have to give it another go. It's been many a year since I've watched it, so I might have to give it a second chance.
yeah,
See if
you should.
see if I can find it. So have you got any more? So we had Lord of the Rings, Interstellar.
I really loved the new Miles Morales movie, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I loved that movie. The first one too, but like we went and saw it in the theaters, and I just came out of there going, "That's one of the best movies I've seen in my life." I just, I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
All the just different styles of animation in it were fabulous. There's like a scene. I'm not gonna talk specifics here, but a scene in the middle with like a chase scene that was just so huge and over the top and just like I mean, I was just sitting in my seat, like my eyes were huge and I was just blown away. I'm like, this is fantastic. I don't know. I just visually, it was a treat. The story was great. I loved it. I, it was just great.
And now we got to wait for number three.
Yeah, there's always that wait. That's what
Yeah.
sucks.
Exactly, exactly. So the best thing to do is just not watch any of them and come back and watch all three all together.
You could do that, yeah.
Yeah. See, I've
But
seen the first one, but I haven't seen the second one yet.
oh, go watch it.
Yeah.
Did you
I
like the
can
first
download
one?
it. I did like the first one. I didn't think I was going to like the first one, but I did like the first one. So no,
Yeah,
I
I
definitely
wasn't
have to
sure
catch the
either.
second one. I think it
Like,
was the kind of the animations kind of not jagged. That's not the right word. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not really quick, fluid animation. Do you know what I mean? It's not. I can't explain what I
I
mean now.
no, I know what you're saying. It's very like bombastic at times, I guess. It's like a good word.
Yeah,
Uh, because of the energy, that I guess Miles brings and like his whole just like everything he is. So they made it really appeal, I think, to I I don't know. Like I don't want to say kids. It's not like appealing to
no, I know
kids
what you mean.
specifically, but
Yeah.
to like I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm losing my train of thought.
No,
Ignore me.
no, I get what you mean. It's kind of the stylization and the character. They've done it to appeal to not a certain audience, but a wider audience, including younger kids who maybe
Hmm.
haven't grown up with comics and bits and pieces. But no, the first one was going to. I will definitely have to catch the second one. Definitely.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
I really
So we
enjoyed it.
talked. I'll definitely check it out. I'll let you know my thoughts.
Excellent.
So we've talked about movies. Now it's time for my favorite question. I love this question. I love this question every time. What is your favorite food?
You'll probably hate my answer, but coffee.
It's not
It's
even a
not even food.
food. You can't. No, I'm sorry. You
I
can't have
know.
coffee. You cannot have coffee. Coffee is a drink. It's not a food.
It's a food.
No.
Food wise, okay, so not to get into like sob stories, but I haven't eaten like really good food in a long time. I don't think it's been a struggle over here. So I was struggling to think about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, what did I used to go eat? And I used to love sushi like a lot. And
Yeah.
my tastes have changed for some reason. And I'm like, where did that go? But I love a good hibachi. Um, like hibachi restaurants where like Japanese inspired, where they cook the food in front of you, and you get those big fat noodles and some rice, and your protein and all the mixed vegetables. Like I cannot resist a good hibachi, so I'm gonna go with hibachi.
Love it. Love it. I just love all food. I can't even put it down. If someone tried to ask me that question, I just can answer it. I love food.
I I mean, me too.
I
Unfortunately
love.
for me, like I want to. I've never had like Thai food, and everybody raves about it, but I
Ah,
can't do spicy anymore because I have like some stomach issues, and so I'm so upset that I never tried Thai food. Like I'm afraid to eat it now because I don't want to like be in pain for a couple of days. But
no, you can
I
do it.
want
So
to try.
I've actually got Thai tonight. So we're cooking a Thai green curry tonight. A prawn Thai green curry. A prawn Thai green curry. Um, I think if you go to a Thai restaurant, their food's quite aromatic. Some can be spicy, but if you get
Hmm.
the stuff you do at home, it's not really that spicy. If you had like a, let's say, a Thai green curry with the coconut milk in it, it's quite a tame curry. I don't think you'd have any issues. You should give it a try. Don't blame me though if for days after you've got chronic stomach pains.
I'm gonna
But no,
come after you.
you come after me. So I always used to love Chinese food. I'm like, oh, I love Chinese. It's really nice,
Yeah,
really nice. But Thai food, oh, it's so aromatic. It's got such flavor. I absolutely love it. You should definitely look into kind of like mild stuff, which isn't that spicy, because I think you'd be fine with it, and you wouldn't regret it.
I might get
Amazing.
brave and do that.
Or even if you don't have curries, like their Thai fish cakes and things like that, which wouldn't be that spicy at all. It's
Okay,
really, really nice. I can recommend it. I'm getting
I
hungry.
can tell that you
My
have a great
tummy's
love for it.
rumbling now.
It's probably almost dinner time anyway.
Yeah, it's 5:15 here, so kids to bed
Yeah,
at 7-ish. Get them in the bath and then settle down with a curry and some good TV.
I miss
Um,
7 o'clock bedtimes.
pardon? You missed 7 o'clock bedtime. Yeah, I know. It's not going to
Yeah,
stay that way for long.
no,
It's not going to stay that way for long. They'll soon be staying up later than I do. So let's go back to games. So October has been a massive month for new games, and you've
yes,
alluded to something that you picked up. But what have you picked up this month?
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. I desperately
Oh,
want Lords of the Fallen as well, but I got Spider-Man 2 at the moment, so
yeah.
I'm
So
happy.
can you? I thought I can't remember what console it was. I thought you could like game share, but is that a thing of the past now?
I have
Where
no
you could,
idea. I've never done that.
I think it might have been like last generation or something, where if you had a game, you could, if it was a game where you could play like co-op and stuff, you could game share it with someone online and play it together. But I don't know if that's a thing. I think I'm just talking rubbish. I think it used to be a thing, but I don't know if it's still a thing.
I don't know.
But it doesn't help you because you can't play Lords of the Fallen, so I'll just play it and tell you about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just chuck some more pictures in the TPM chat.
And you know what? And that's fine. Like, I'm living vicariously through everybody else, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing coming from the game. So you keep on.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Um, so over the past 5 years, um, since you've been doing VP, the virtual photography community's changed a lot. What's
Hmm.
your favorite thing about our community, and what evolution would you like to see next within the VP community space?
I think my favorite thing about the community that I'm noticing is, and it's been ongoing, of course, it's not anything new, but just like the influx of really talented people. It's like weekly, I feel like I discover somebody who's maybe newer to the community. Um, and I'm just like, this person is really, really good. Like, it, I'm trying to say it like I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like, it's not that wasn't the case before and now it is. But I think it's more that, it's becoming more and more popular. So it's like expanding exponentially, really. And so
Yeah,
you're getting more and more people who just have like really good talent from the start. And like I'm surprised. Like I said, weekly I come across somebody else that I haven't heard of before that I'm like, damn, look at this stuff. Like, what the hell? Why am I not shooting like this?
No, it's true though, and I've noticed it well, and as well as, and it is not really, really recently, but over the past, let's say 6 months, there has been such an influx. If we're talking,
Hmm.
we're talking about you picking up Spider-Man 2. If you think of Spider-Man VPs, 6 months ago, I don't think we had Sano G. I don't think we had Timothy or Mesh, but these people have just turned up and they have smashed it. And it's
Hmm.
not just Spider-Man VP, but no, I completely agree with that, and I've noticed that as well. But it's really, really good to see. Really good to
It
see.
is.
I wish
Yeah,
I
the
had some of the
Spider-Man
talent at the
shooters, like
beginning.
all the really good Spider-Man shooters, the new ones, like I've only really just discovered them, and I'm like, damn guys, you guys are
Yeah,
killing it.
yeah. Calm down. Come on, don't rock onto the scene and smash it out of the park so quickly.
Save some pictures for the rest of us. I'm just kidding. No, keep
Yeah,
doing what you're doing.
exactly. But no, it's really good, and I think the VP community is evolving, and you can see that in those people and everybody else who's joining. There's more and more people joining, and I just think, as much as it's the new people, new talent joining, it's more people joining who are just so instantly fully engaged and engaged with the whole community, commenting, liking, that kind of thing. I think when I joined, people were not as apprehensive about interacting, but it wasn't as full on or wasn't as free, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Or am I just talking rubbish?
I'm really sorry. Somebody was banging on my door, so
That's okay.
once
I'll
again
let
I
you
missed
off.
something.
No,
We have a
I was
passage downstairs.
I was just saying that obviously the guys are joining with really good VP skills and smashing it, but I just find a lot of the people joining now are a lot more quickly engaged and interacting with
Yeah.
people, comments, likes, that kind of thing. Whereas when I first started, people seemed to be a bit more apprehensive about interacting in bits and pieces. But now people just like land on the scene, they're smashing out of the park, they're dropping comments and really getting involved in things, which is really good to see. Maybe it's just my old age.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I kind of have a similar perception, and I'm going to say that we should congratulate ourselves being here a little longer. Maybe we were able to create the type of environment where people feel more comfortable now coming in from the beginning.
That's a good point.
Um, and it could just be perception. Like, it's so hard to tell. Like, I don't have an overview of like what is going on in every corner of
Mm,
the whole community. So maybe I'm wrong. But that is, I do have a similar perception. Like the newer people who are joining, and the thing is, they may not all be new to VP. They may have just been new to Twitter. Like, so I don't
yeah.
like to assume, oh man, this person, you're brand new to this. Um, so forgive us if anybody's like, I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm
Yeah.
not a newbie. It's not that. From like our perception, you kind of come on the scene real strong, and it's like, wow, um,
In
that was
such a
not
good way. In such a good way, isn't it? It's
in a
we,
very positive way.
yeah, it's really, really good. So
Yeah.
what's the next evolution you would like to see?
Well, I'm gonna cheat on this one. I was thinking about it, and I'm gonna go back to like an issue of Unplugged where it was brought up that not that the community is stagnant, but right now there's like we're expanding with the amount of people we have, but kind of like where do we go from here? Like we're all
Hmm.
posting pictures, we're all part of this community, encouraging each other, sharing. There's some contests, there's some challenges, there's things like that going on, but where do we go? Like what's the next step?
Mm,
And one of the answers was expand like sideways into it. So more and more people are now starting to go beyond simply posting your pictures on Twitter, Instagram, the new things that are happening, Facebook, wherever you post. And they're creating like YouTube channels or streaming channels where they stream VP, or they're writing blogs about it, doing like Photomode reviews and or showing tips and tricks. And I really liked that idea because it's a different way of viewing VP. Now you can see what people actually do, see their thought processes, or if you're newer or don't understand like a feature in a photo mode, you can head on over to this person's channel and
Yeah.
watch a really in-depth review where they explain every tool. And, I consider myself fairly experienced in VP tools like that are included with the photo modes, but I don't know everything. I watch stuff like that regularly from the people I know who put it out, and they're always like bringing up a tool that maybe, I thought I was using great and showing an even better way to use it. So I think that kind of expanding sideways like that is a really good direction we can go in. And I like to see more and more people doing that. In fact, um, I even tried to I made like one very quick edit video, but that was it because I don't have time. But I was like,
No, I
hey,
agree.
I even want to try something.
Because there's people, I can't remember which VP it is, but there's a VP who does it on TikTok, and they're massive. The following and the interaction on TikTok is massive, and whether it's, I think, Evo Pixel does some, Sarah does some that I've seen, and
Cool.
I know there's loads of others, and I can't mention them all because I forget people's names if I don't write things
Hmm.
down. But
Yep.
no, they're really, really useful. And I think you're right that sideways evolution, definitely, because we're all still going to be taking pictures. Everybody's still going to
Of
be taking pictures.
course. I mean,
It'd
of
be good to
course.
get it'd be good to get more kind of physical, not even galleries, but like with London Games Week when it was in Trafalgar Square and VP was
Hmm.
out there physically, to get some galleries that do it as well. Just branching out into outside of the box. Definitely, there's loads of space to grow, isn't there, and do different bits.
There is. And, ultimately, having even more acceptance by the developers who give us the photo mode tools. Some of them are fantastic with us, as we all know. We
Mm,
all know developers who kind of seem to ignore the VP that people are doing of their games, even though they give us the tools to do it. But
mm,
just having more and more of the developers like saying, "Hey, this is really cool. Like, look at this community that's doing this with our game," and setting up things like, you have Insomniac Games community tag and they regularly share. You have Gorilla doing the monthly features that include VP. But just having more and more like studios and stuff really recognizing that and setting up stuff for us to be, featured and shown is just really good. And I see that happening, having more spaces like you said, like Lords of the Fallen right now, they're going to be showing pictures VP that like we all took. People who from their games are going to pick the ones they're going to show them uh, in New York. My mind's drawing a blank right now. Like on the huge, huge, huge like electronic billboards there. So that is really, really cool. I mean, that's a big deal.
exactly. I mean, that's not going to be cheap, is it? Let's be honest. It's not going to be cheap to put that
No.
up on there, and the fact that that will be on there is amazing, amazing.
Like how cool, like if you're selected for that, how cool would it be to tell people, hey, yeah, this happened to me. Like I was excited after Red Bull when they displayed like the winning people's shots in I guess the High Line in New York, which I've
Yeah,
never actually been in New York, but I know everybody was telling me it's a popular place. Like I had my picture display there. It was really cool. It's probably like one of the coolest things that happened to me, even though I didn't get to go see it in person, but I still saw pictures.
yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah.
you just gave me your highlight. That's one of your highlights. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Without even thinking about it, you gave me the highlight.
That's
So
funny.
yeah,
My
no,
subconscious must have been at work.
so it'd be good. Yeah, it'd definitely be good to see that sideways evolution. So we've got one more question left.
Yes.
Then we'll go to any questions from people listening live. So if you are listening live,
Hi guys.
put in a speak request. We'd love to speak to you. You can put a question to Cynthia live. Don't be shy. So let's do our last question, and then we'll see if any requests come in. So we've talked about lots of different pieces, and there's been various bits of advice and tips dotted around for what we've talked about. But if you could give one solid piece of advice for people new and old in the VP community, what would it be?
I love this question.
Mhm.
Um, my answer, I kind of touched on it earlier, but is to never stop learning. Actively seek out learning. If you really want to improve and grow as an artist, and this applies to like any type of creative, channels you pursue, but just seek out learning. How can you make your images better? How can you improve your compositions, your lighting, your colors, your storytelling, whatever it is, that you're interested in and need. And also look back on your older stuff as you get more time, like in this art. Look back on your older work and compare it to your new stuff. Not to say, oh, look, I was so bad when I first started. Like, a lot of us joke like that, but it's actually a very helpful tool to see how far you've come. And it's the
Definitely.
best way to compare your progress rather than comparing to like another VP, because that only like leaves room for negative feelings, really. So compare it to your own work and see how you're growing, and it's really eye-opening when you do. And obviously, the you get a lot of advice like shoot what you love and everything. That's the first thing. Of course, you want to like what you're doing, but if you give yourself a really solid foundation, you can end up shooting maybe in games you're not as connected to, but still come out with like really quality pieces. So it really is useful to like build that foundation. So learn, ask people, look at VP's work you love, and like challenge yourself to identify exactly what it is you love about it, other than it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
You know, why do you love this beautiful picture? Is it the way the sun rays stream down upon these tops of the trees and the heroine is lit from the side? I don't know, but like get in depth with why you love it, because then you can start identify like your own style as well if you haven't done that yet. So that's my advice.
That is great advice. Absolutely
Thank
great
you.
advice. I mean, there is so much to learn from the VP community. We talked about YouTube and all the other outlets you can use. There's so much to learn, and it's only going to further your knowledge and your experience in your craft, isn't it? So that's absolutely brilliant advice. I love it.
I,
Love it.
thank you. That's
So,
how I live.
live listeners, you're letting us down. Come on, I've had no speak requests.
No.
We've got Evie, we've got Bianca on here. Aaron, come on, Aaron, you're on here. You're listening.
I
Turid
love
as
how you
well.
said Bianca. I'm sorry.
What?
Bianca.
What? Um, come on, somebody ask a question. Hey, there we go. I knew she wouldn't let
Who's
us
putting
down.
me on this spot?
Let's get you in. Hey, B.
Bee.
Hey, we certainly can.
Okay, I was gonna wait for
Bee. What's
somebody
up?
because I'm like always hogging up the fucking mic. But so you know what? This isn't a question because I thought about it this whole ass hour and whatever it is. But the one thing that I have thought about was you, right? Because I got better because of you as well. Like there's many like Evie's here, and I
Aw.
look up to her too. But like I remember whenever you did something and then it really did expand my mind was Pixart, sorry, Pixart. And it was putting these lights as they're stickers, right? And putting it on the lights.
Mhm.
And that opened up my world. That's my Photoshop, okay? I'm very basic like that, but I use that all the time because of you. So I always put stickers on a lot of my shit
Yay.
all the time. And she's right about wanting knowledge or to learn every time and to look back at my stuff. And I do that a lot. And I do see it even just for with a few months to a year, like you see the way things change. And I'm always trying to do
Mhm.
things differently. And I feel like you've helped me see that. And also just you as a person, as a friend, I look up to you because I feel like your knowledge, your wisdom has helped me grow as a person too. That's what I wanted to tell you.
No,
Yeah.
don't make me cry live.
Anyway, that's
That
no
was
Thank
question.
beautiful.
you.
But I wanted to express that because to anybody who's hearing this, like this is one of my good friends, if not one of my best friends on here.
You,
Thank you.
you. Thank you. I'm overwhelmed at this point.
Oh, I love that.
That was really sweet. And I'm happy that I could help in some way. And I mean, you're a quality VP in your own right. So
Oh my
that
God, your
means a lot.
Photoshop? I'm like, one day I'll get to it.
Yes. I mean, I
It's
told you to do it.
insane, but it's so overwhelming to look at it first. I'm like, I don't know how she fucking does it, dude. But it's pretty awesome.
I mean, the biggest thing is literally learning the interface in Photoshop and just getting the basics of what the main tools do and getting a good working knowledge of it. I'm not an expert in it. I still use very basic techniques, honestly. Like I've watched hundreds of hours of people doing like photo manipulations and making posters, doing design, all kinds of things in it. And the way that professionals and really, really advanced people use it just blows my mind. But really, like my first advice is do one of those free courses you find on YouTube or
YouTube.
elsewhere just to get familiar with the basic tools and how they work, the stuff you're going to be using all the time and where to find them in the program. Because that was like, it took me a good several months to be really comfortable moving around in it. And that can be very frustrating. You want to learn and you want to get in there and start creating beautiful works of art at first, but you have to take that time to just learn the program itself. And for me, I'm older than like quite a bit of the community. So like Photoshop was not really a thing. Like we had predecessors to it when I was growing up. So it wasn't like super innate for me. So it probably took me longer than, Bianca at your age, your young age to learn. But that's
As
just,
if I'm a baby. I'm not.
I'm not a baby, but I mean, a lot of
We're
y'all are
I
like
know what
babies.
you're saying.
No, I'm
I
just
know what
kidding.
you're saying.
Y'all are great.
No, I'm teasing.
we're like oldies, aren't we, Cynthia? We're oldies in this community.
I feel so old. I look around and like someone's like, I'm 17 and they're posting like these beautiful works of art. And I'm like, damn,
Oh,
didn't
I
even
saw
have
that the other
social
day.
media
I saw
when I
that
was
the other
young.
day. I can't remember who was it. Basically said, "Yeah, just to let you know, I'm 17," and I was like, "Oh, really? That's like 20. I can't even add up how many years ago that is. Oh, it makes you feel really
It's
old." But no, that was really, that for me, what you've just come on and said, Bianca. That's just kind of echoed what we've said about, you know, inspiration from the community, learning from community, the
Mhm.
friendships, the engagement, and the giving back, that kind of thing. That just encapsulated all of that for me, and that was absolutely beautiful. Thanks for coming on and saying that.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Dave, you know what we do, Dave? Like Cynthia, Evie, and I, sometimes we'll go in a chat and we'll just look at each other, take pictures and stuff. And even just
Hmm.
talking, I think helps us like feel inspired, even if we're just talking.
Hmm. Yeah, like
Oh,
one
that's
of us
really,
will share a screen on PlayStation, and so we can watch like how they work, and we just we talk about all kinds of random stuff, and it's really relaxing and fun.
how do you get invited to these parties? What's going on? Where's my invite?
You gotta be a
You just
girl.
ask. No.
You got to be a
I'm
girl.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh no, saying that, I have to say, Cynthia and Nick did invite me to do a kind of uh to play on Ghost of Tsushima Legends like ages ago, but
Hmm.
I haven't got a headset, and they refused to play with me if I use the microphone on my controller.
I
So,
can't do that echo. That echo, it scrambles my brain so much.
oh
So
dear,
you can go buy a headset. Yeah, we
one
do
day
a
we'll
lot of
get there.
stuff like that. Um,
But
like just
that's really cool though. The fact that you guys have met like through VP or on whether it's Facebook, X, or wherever it is, and that you've got that friendship. That's really good. Really good.
Right. I think it's good to learn about your friends other than BP, and I think that's what helps the bonds. I believe so.
it does.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's amazing. Like I said, it's the best part of my VP experience, honestly, was making good quality friends with several people from this community.
Well, it's got to that time now. We're an hour and a half in. We've just been blown to pieces emotionally by Bianca there. So it's a good time to call it a day. And for me to say thanks, Cynthia. Thanks for jumping on. Obviously, we chat on TPM chat, things to do with TPM, but it's been really good to actually talk to you as a person, get to know a bit more about you and hear from you. And I think people will really take some of the stuff you said in here and use that to further their VP or how they look at VP. So thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for
Yep.
speaking to us.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. It's my pleasure. And we'll let you get back to it. And I'm going to go and have my Thai curry.
Jealous.
No, seriously. Thanks a lot, Cynthia, and we'll catch you later.
Yes, everybody have a great weekend too. And thanks for listening and staying this long because it was a long one.
Definitely. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.